Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for episode 63. And I am working on automating my smelting setup a little bit. So before, I used to have iron pipes here, which I would change depending on what I was smelting. So I want iron to go into this tank, so I would open up this side. But as you can see, I've replaced them with fluid diamond pipes now. And the point of this is so I can have them filter the fluids automatically, of course. So I've been smelting some metals. And because I need a fluid container that contains the metal, so I can put it in the filter, of course. I need a couple of silver and a couple of gold as well. This should be hot enough to smelt the iron as well now, which is good. So I will no longer have to micromanage my smeltery, is the idea. Now lead, I don't actually or bronze I don't actually need, because I don't make it in the crucible furnace. Let's see. Gold goes down as well. Silver and aluminum. Then we can start smelting the iron, because I don't think there was anything else. Nope, I don't think so. It's all the metals I have. And then we can cast those back into ingots. And finally, the iron is going to go into the red side. Now, you may be wondering why there is another diamond pipe here. We can now also turn this engine back on to pump out the iron, and this should be going in here. That is fine. Can put that in there. Silver in there. So this is because I'm going to have so I've reconsidered a little bit. I'm going to put the power plant over here, and I'm going to put the factory here. And the reason for that is the factory is going to need to be reasonably close to this smeltery. And why that is because the factory is going to need access to metals, and it is going to need especially for the computer components, some of them are made out of gold nuggets and iron nuggets. So I'm going to have to provide those to the system. I intend to supply the packagers using the Railcraft logistics system. So drones are going to supply the packagers with the resources they need. So I'm going to put two of these nugget casters, one for iron and one for gold. So I'm going to have a tank of iron, this one. I'm going to put a fluid hopper, probably raise this up by one, and then put a hopper here, which is going to face this block here, and this is going to be a nugget caster. Then the nugget caster is going to have a passive provider frame on it. Or no, it's going to have a storage frame on it. Because it is technically an inventory. So when these are both a tank and an inventory. And what happens is when the fluid goes in, and there is enough fluid to form, for the ingot caster, for example, an ingot, it's 122 or something like that. When there is enough fluid to form an ingot, the liquid metal is removed, and an item is created instead. And the item is represented by one of these holes here. But there is actually an inventory in here which contains the item. And the drones can fetch that item. So can hoppers, of course, which is the system I'm using right now for this. So the drones can take nuggets right out of these casts, or blocks, or ingots. I'm also going to have a tank of gold in here. Because I don't use gold all that much, I can, just as I am with my iron, I can keep the gold as a fluid, and then cast nuggets for the crafting system as required. And when I need gold ingots, for example, for something, I can just grab some from the tank. So this gold pipe is going to separate the gold and the iron out, which I actually realize I put the gold going into the... Oh, I see. Right. That's why that was. I put the gold going into the ingot caster. I shouldn't have done that. What are you doing? Pressure 10. I assume you have nothing to do, and that's why you're hanging out here. Or you were just refueling. Should have some Buildcraft tanks here. So I'm going to have to resmelt some gold and move the filter over. Now, as you saw, I put a speed upgrade in one of these, which made just that platform a lot faster than the others. Apparently you have to put an equal amount of upgrades in each base, so they all become that fast. That's a little faster, which is nice. A little jerky sometimes, but I blame my server for that mostly. You'll also notice that the elevator bases have camo slots. The reason I'm not using those is because the lighting on these are kind of weird, so it doesn't really look that much better. You can clearly tell that it's not a real floor. Like, well, yeah, you can see it's darker than it should be. I kind of prefer it like this. It's fine. So, going to put tank here. Then I'm going to remove the gold from there. And then I'm going to take all my gold, put a ball in, and we're going to start smelting it. That did not work as intended, but oh well. Now we get a... So you're going to have gold going this way, then to the yellow. Now we had some find its way in here. So we're going to put that in here. Like that. Then we can put that in as well. I'm going to need some iron and put it in the red side there to make sure that is sorted properly. I can put that back. And I can now put the balls away. I suppose we can smelt these nuggets as well. I don't think there's a little stuff in here, but not that much. We can smelt the gold dust as well. These give nuggets, of course, or a nugget's worth of molten metal. Gold in this case, of course, which is fine. So now this should pretty much take care of itself. Let's empty this out and remove the bottom tank and put it back. And there we go. That should be all right. Now we need two nugget casts. So need 8 burnt bricks. Now I don't think I actually have that lying around, unfortunately. So we're going to have to make... Oh, right. No, this one. So we're going to have to make some, which is easy enough. I've been making stone bricks for replacing walls with, of course. Let's drop those. And those. And apparently the backpack is full. That's okay. I can put the remaining Railcraft tanks in there. Then we put these in here. And then we need some lava. This might do it, maybe. Put these away. That did it indeed, and there is one whole bucket left. Then we just need to do this. Give us 2 nugget casters. Then we're going to get 2 fluid hoppers. Which I happen to have up here. I don't remember why I have this many, but oh well. Now we're going to place these here, and then we're going to shift-click wrench them to face the outputs on this side. Then we're going to do that, and now these are going to fill up with their respective metal, and then solidify into 16 nuggets, I think. Or is it 64? We have 4 times 4. No, that's 16. And it turns out there was a lot of it went into that. That's alright, I guess. And now there really isn't a reason not to smelt the tiny piles. Not really. So now moving the power plant is basically going to mean moving the boiler and the turbine. And the first step in that is going to be removing this logistics frame. Because I hate wasting fuel, I'm going to let the boiler run out of fuel first before I actually break it. Now the water I don't really care about. I'm going to leave the pipe connected to make sure it doesn't run out of water before it runs out of fuel. We should have enough power to last during the move. Now, a thing I want to do with the new power plant is take advantage of the return water. Because the turbine outputs some water to the bottom. So if I put a pipe here, Hmm. It should be outputting water. Maybe it's not running enough to actually output anything at the moment. That could be it. Let's try putting a tank. Just saw them as I closed the interface. If I put a tank here, it's not outputting anything for some reason. It should be. It might just be that it's not running fast enough to actually produce any water. But if it was, or if it was working correctly, depending on what the problem is, it would be outputting water to the bottom, which you could then use in the boiler. I guess it actually doesn't matter that much, since most of the fuel is going to waste anyway, since the since the turbine isn't running very actively anyway. I have no idea why picking up items is being so weird. So I'm just going to break the boiler right away. Might as well. And we're going to move it downstairs. Now my idea... Well, actually... That might have been silly. My plan was to have a buffer tank of water and then have a fluid hopper or something feeding into the boiler, and then the pipe would be primarily fed by the turbine. So dang, it was too late. The way I would do that would be to have a gate sit on the water input pipe, and as long as the tank is over a certain is over halfway full, the gate would not allow the water line to fill the tank. But if the water level dips below half, then the gate would open the pipe and allow the water line to fill up the tank to keep it to keep enough water to ensure the boiler doesn't run out. And well, I hope there's enough power to finish at least one gate. And this would ensure there's always room for the water, and at the same time make the turbine the primary source, because otherwise the tank would always be full from this water line, because it clearly produces more water than the boiler can use. But the turbine does not do that. It produces, or it gives back less water than the what's the steam, what it took to generate the steam that's put in. So then the turbine would be the primary water source, which would potentially save some water and enable us to expand the boiler more before we have to expand the the water production, the water tanks up top, which would be a good thing, because that means work. So this is getting power still, enough to run at max speed. Looks like it's going to be getting enough power to finish the gate. However, we are approaching the end of the episode, so we're going to continue with this in the next one. So I will see you then.